In this video, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the authors that I'm drawing upon, some of the sources I'm drawing upon. So at least when you're hitting books at the library, when you're searching for journal articles, you've got some of the authors that are good to work with. And I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a hierarchy of the kind of sources I'm starting with. I've spoken about broadening and then building, starting general and then becoming more specific, more complex. So that's what I'm going to do in this unit. I'm going to take over your screen in a moment and talk to you in a large screen and hold some books up for you. I would suggest from time to time here, you might want to hit pause, and you will probably want to write down a few of the names. They might be good starting points in your ISI as some of the good sources out there, some of the good authors out there who've got a bit to say on the topic. And you might find extracts of their work in Google Books or the Library of All Hallows, database searches and so on. So I'm going to hit pause here for a moment. Then what I'm going to do is I'll take over the whole screen and I'll hold some books up for you. And I don't have all of them, but it will be a starting point for you. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about some of the more general texts. I'm a little bit partial to this book by Michael Lynch, Mao's China. I'll try and position it for you. I'll put it in front of my face for a moment. There we go, Mao's China. Now, I've done a bit of scanning. There's parts of that book in your OneNote at the moment, so that's a really good starting point. Mao's China by Michael Lynch. Some really good sources in there. I also draw upon, now these are the general starting point books, China Rising, if I can get that one in shot, The Revolutionary Experience. Now, it's published by the HTAV, I'll bring that up, the History Teachers Association of Victoria, and it's written by Tom Ryan. Fabulous book. A lot of the information I'm giving you will come from there. And as you might know by now, what I try to do is give you good quality in-text references, and I give you full bibliographic details for sources. If you can't find some of these books, have a chat to me. Maybe I can help you there. Another book in the All Hallows Library is this one, China Revolutionary Leadership by Wood and McManus. You might be able to read that a little bit better on your screen. When I hold it away, the camera's not the clearest there for me. But Wood and McManus, it's an older book, but plenty of good primary sources in it, some good general information to get you going. So again, a good starting point. Again, if it's out, it might be because I've got it. I think there's a few copies of it out there. Another good, general, broad book to start you off, Spirit of Change by Morecambe and Fielding. Okay, definitely, again, from the All Hallows Library. China and Revolution, Spirit of Change, China and Revolution, Morecambe and Fielding. Same story. Lots of good information in there. If you are looking for this book and you can't get it in the library, have a chat to myself. It's probably going to be held by one of the history teachers. So again, some good stuff. You might want to track that one down. I'm going to hit pause for a moment. Maybe not. Actually, we'll keep going. I'll give you now the next level. So they're nice and broad. I'll try and get my hands in shot. Nice and broad. Let's then make it a bit more specific. Some of these authors are writing some fabulous work out there on China in the period you're studying. So I'm a little bit partial to this Oxford series, and they're little books. Okay, they're nothing major, little books, but by some fantastic experts. So the first one here, I'm going to hold up to you, and they're in not any particular order, Delia Davin. Now, our topic is about Mao Zedong and his rule of China. This is essentially a short introduction to his whole life and career. Pretty fabulous book. I'm using it. I'm preparing resources based on it. You'll see Delia Davin come up. And I'm pretty sure you'll find she's written quite a bit that you'll find in, say, Google Books or journal articles and so on. So Delia Davin. Rana Mitter is really quite famous. She's written quite a lot of modern histories, interviewed a bit out there online. I think you should be able to find a bit there. So again, this is in the Oxford series, this book. When you have a look in it, I'll just open up the page. I'm picking my way through. You can see I'm doing a bit, probably see a bit of highlighting in there. Fairly readable, fairly easy to go, and they're not very intimidating books in terms of size. So that's Rana Mitter. She's recognised as a bit of an expert out there. Haven't got into this book yet, but I know it's very, very good. Richard Kurt Krauss, writing specifically on the Cultural Revolution, an aspect of Mao's rule of China. So again, you might really like that one. A few other books that are really very, very good. Andrew Wolder's, oh, he's probably Volder because I think he pronounces it like the Germans, China Under Mao, A Revolution Derailed. Now, looking at that title, the subtitle, A Revolution Derailed, would indicate things went wrong under Mao. So straight away, he's probably got an agenda, a message that he's wanting to bring through his book. Okay, but Andrew Wolder, or Volder, depending on how he wants to say it, very, very good author to be aware of. Keep an eye out for journal articles, books written by him. You may or may not get that one. This is one of my books. A few of these are my books as well. So don't be afraid to have a chat to me about sources. A couple of books that are highly recommended to me, and they're on, I mean, this is the first time, when I'm making this video, this is the first time we've taught this unit, and there's a lot of really good information coming out. Red China Blues by Jan Wong. A Chinese voice talking about what's happening in China, essentially a primary source. Went to China in 1972 during the Cultural Revolution. So this is a source that is highly recommended. I'll just try and get it better in shot. Red China Blues. Quite a bit about it. Okay. Shapiro and Heng, Son of the Revolution. I'll try and put it there. It gives me a little bit of a chance to read in the back. Again, a Chinese perspective. We're actually getting people publishing what went on in China. But be aware that some of these authors who leave China to write this are not people that the communist government are thinking very highly of. So that may mean they're more truthful, but it's certainly not going to be the official version, so we're going to grapple with perspectives. Now, the last one, I'm just going to drag this in of my multi-screen for you to have a look at. I've been listening to podcasts involving this gentleman, Frank Dicotta. He's an amazing author. I'll just drag this hopefully into shot. A little bit tricky. I wonder if I can drag that over. Now I'm going to hit pause for a moment and reposition this for you. Lastly, an author to be aware of is Frank Dicotta. Now, he's a really interesting voice in the study of modern Chinese history. He's a academic, a sinologist who lives in and works in Hong Kong. He's of Dutch background. You'll find quite a bit of his stuff online. Series of books he's written, you can see there, Mao's Great Famine, The Tragedy of Liberation, The Cultural Revolution, How to Be a Dictator, looking at the cult of personality in Mao's China. This is a really good author to get your hands on. I do have a couple of his books. I quite like what he's doing. He shows up in podcasts and so forth. So that's hopefully given you an idea of some of the sources to be aware of as you are approaching this ISI. Maybe start seeing if you can track these sources down, these authors down, building a base. Remember, start broad, start with the general secondary sources, then move into the more complex and specific. As you have a look at some of these sources, they actually will tell you where the really good primary sources are, and you can go from those general sources to the primary sources. Okay, don't be afraid also to access podcasts on Spotify. Some are better than others. I'm a bit of a fan of a really good general starting point by some guys on Spotify, and I don't have Apple, but on the Apple equivalent, Versus History. They have some good conversations as history teachers around understanding Mao and modern China.